Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As you could tell, we're looking at La Palma. I just want to check, make sure everything's okay there. And look at that, you got 3 different fires blowing. Cumbra Vieja esta mañana. Yeah, it's never ending. It seems to be so.
Right, they just kind of keep escalating things, don't they?
Yeah, Cindy was just we were asking about this, and she was getting from the guides that this is part of like a longer term plan. And, don't be surprised to see this still going 6 months from now as well. I think I've seen some official sources saying they expect this to burn itself out in about a 3-month period. But then again, as we've alluded to, the guides have told us all along this is artificially flavored, and that has nothing to do with anybody finding any sort of grid pattern. Again, the guides said that this was artificially flavored well before anybody was talking about a grid. So that's basically the point we want to get across, is that the guides all along have said this is artificially flavored.
Absolutely, and it is and it has been, and this is nothing natural we're looking at here. We're looking at a very deliberate act.
And the technology's there. As we were talking about Tesla 1898 with his earthquake machine. Then, of course, we have the extraterrestrial interdimensional factor as well. And so we see the headline here, strange sounds, La Palma volcano is heating up. 3 collapses of the main cone today. Fifth vent opens up, spewing more lava. More than 270 quakes in 24 hours. Landslide in the south of the island blocks the road. There's timing going on here, and this is again something that the guys were talking about, a 6-month timeline here and build up. So a lot of activity. It's showing absolutely no signs really of being over anytime soon. And so you have daily sulfur dioxide emission being recorded at 50,000 tons. Plume of ash, gas, and dust is reaching higher altitudes up to 3,800 meters. Plenty of videos to look at. Beautiful to watch nature go, but again, it's an unnatural triggering that is happening here. And, we could always find these things that are out there that make you wonder in the bigger scheme of things. A video game from 2009 shows the elite causing the volcano at La Palma to erupt and cause a mega you-know-what. And isn't that curious? Because what they, this video game, basically it gives you that whole outline. The flank collapses, because they set charges, boom, 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 which gives you that tsunami, which lashes out. Now again, some scientists have said it wouldn't happen like this, that there's no evidence that anything this big would occur. As they're talking about, waves 200 to 600 feet high, going and sweeping away everything. And they have a picture of the Statue of Liberty and the UN building, and then basically it says there'll be a power vacuum in which the NWO takes over. And of course that's great video game stuff. It could be just simply video game, it could be all the rumors, all the C period S T period, or is it a foreshadowing?
Well, we don't know, but we know whatever it is, it's to meet their agenda, not ours.
Exactly. As we've said, if humanity was in touch with Mother Nature, we could avert even the earth changes themselves being catastrophic. And we could have a beautiful transition into a 5D reality that would really literally create heaven on earth. Something which is talked about in like all different traditions. Return to the golden age. A return to dream time. in which, in all these different legends, as we've talked about with the Hopi, they talk about our star brothers and sisters that return and help us to set things straight and help us to grow in a organic way in which we basically are in a symbiotic relationship with the planet. There's nothing symbiotic about the way that humanity treats the planet at this time, which again is at the this is through the control of the controllers. As we've said, we've seen patents, declassified patents for free energy devices, anti-gravity devices. I mean, all these things are out there. We've seen the weather modification patents that are declassified as well. Many of us have seen the type of technology that's at DARPA. We don't need to be using fossil fuels. We don't need to be even having a discussion about carbon emissions. And of course, all those agendas attached to it. In reality, we could be living in a paradise right now. Because we're in 3D, it doesn't mean it has to be miserable. And it's not the original intention. It's the intention of the controllers to make life miserable, because there are beings that feed off of that misery. Plain and simple.
Which is really sad. And that's why there's so much trauma in this world. That's why a lot of people feel like they're swimming upstream. They want that constant angst. They want that constant anguish and struggle, so that you don't have time to slow down, go within, find your emotions, find out where you're at, and center yourself. That's the last thing they want.
Absolutely. So again, we have to find that peace inside, develop that Buddhist detachment in some ways, where we don't get caught into the drama and don't find ourselves basically creating our own negative frequencies all day, running around in circles, in spiritual circles, and not getting anywhere. This is, again, part of why we want to prioritize meditation, things like yoga and Qigong, and getting out and connecting with nature, starting to develop that personal harmony with Mother Nature yourself. And again, it's all about getting out of the system in whatever way you can. For many people, this means packing up and going somewhere else, but for others, it's about rooting in a good, strong way. As we see, Hurricane Rick makes landfall in Guerrero, Mexico, with gusts of up to 127 miles an hour. As you look at another road kind of washed away here. Category 2 hurricane hit Monday, and this is in area very close to where my grandfather comes from, in Michoacan, and massive destruction there as well. How many rivers have we seen just sweeping cars away down Main Street? Obviously, homes were flooded, roofs ripped off of others, and again, food, crops, it's all adding to the situation that we are seeing unfold. And we've seen where the elites are all about controlling everything, controlling the entire supply chain. And here you see yet another headline. If you put together the pieces, this one says, "Tell 46 we're coming. The mother of all caravans heading towards Texas," as more and more migrants are making their way north. And one of the things that comes to my mind is I wonder how well informed some of the people are that are not of the sleepy cellular variety, if you know what I mean. Because it's going to be tough in the U.S. In case they haven't noticed, the U.S. itself is fractioning, is divided completely, and there's no way to really meld this left-right divide that has been so orchestrated and fed upon. So, you got to wonder why people would want to come here. Obviously the situation in many countries has to be far worse than what it is here currently. But if you look to the future, I think many people now recognize that, it does feel like we are heading to a CIVIL confrontation, conflagration. It's going to be a case of what's going to happen when the dates for men that are placed in on a federal level conflict with these dates for men that are being put in place in places like Texas and Florida and other states at a state level. What's going to happen? It's kind of like playing chicken. It feels to me like this is one big game of chicken, and let's see who's going to blink. And yet we've seen many corporations say they are going to follow the federal. And so what will the states do then? Will they actually go ahead and penalize these corporations? And then will the corporations not pay the penalties? Will the states shut down the businesses? I mean, this is a mess.
It is. It's a huge mess, and it's orchestrated. It's very much orchestrated in a way to make our lives very inconvenient, and that's why it's so important. That's why we always harp on, or I don't want to say harp on, but talk to people about waking up and your loved ones too. And I know someone left in the comments the other day. They're like, I've done everything I can. I've said everything I can say. What else can I possibly do, to help wake up those that I love? And honestly, there is a point where you can't do anything. You've said your piece. You've done everything you can do. And then you just have to move forward with a clean slate and understanding in your mind that you gave it 110% to do your very best as far as it is waking up other people.
And you see this immigration arrest inside the U.S. plummet. Absolutely plummet. This is part of that great divide where there are people on a certain side that will kind of ignore this to a degree, because the number one priority in their life might be a topic, a subject, a point of contention that to them is the most important one. So, like, for instance, if for you, the Second Amendment is the most important thing because you're a little bit paranoid about Big Brother, you might lean a little towards the right. Now, for you, if you are in, say, an alternate lifestyle and you want to have that freedom to be in an alternate lifestyle and not be looked at in a negative light, you might lean a little to the left. But then when you get down to it, you might have people that are in that lifestyle but are very afraid of Big Brother. So, this is the point. If you're going to go and just blindly follow one side or the other, then we fall into the matrix. There's different topics on which we're never all going to agree. We could be talking topics like Second Amendment rights. What does that mean? We saw number 46 blurt out a statement, and he did blur it out. Totally contradictory sentences, one on top of the other, which really were, I would view them in an embarrassing light if you were somebody that was really supporting him. He was very emotional, and we shared that video. There's actually another video where you could hear them much, much clearer. For one, he makes reference to something as a certain classification, which it's not, and then he even mislabels it. And then he goes and says, you don't have any right to anything, which was contradictory to his prior statement of saying he supported the Second Amendment. But many people are picking up now. This is kind of the blessing in disguise, is many people that maybe didn't pick up before are picking up on the fact that there is no way that certain people are truly leading the world that we're seeing. Again, these are just a cast of characters for the masses, to observe, while the real puppet masters are behind the scenes. Why would immigration arrests absolutely plummet? Think about the timing. These things are all, there's too much to be coincidental, but again, you're going to get labeled something, you know, a CONS piracy theorist. If you just put 2 and 2 together, you know, it's just that simple. So it seems, you know, like on the federal level, I don't know if they're all on vacation, they're all on siesta. If they're all, maybe they all walked out. Maybe they're all, you know, protesting. Maybe they're doing other things. Maybe they're on vacation. You know, maybe they're over in, you know, Russia or China on vacation or taking direction. It's just, is it coincidental? You know, I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. I believe in the spirit of Christmas, but, you know, again, we can see what's going on in this bigger picture. Terrorist groups in Afghanistan could launch international strikes within 6 months. 6 months, yeah. You know, and it was interesting because the guides were saying that La Palma was on a 6-month plan.
Yeah, they definitely have it on like a 6-month timeline to have everything in place for things to be very inconvenient for people.
Yeah, very, very curious. You know, and again, now we have a perfect opportunity to say, see, we told you so. It was ISIL, or it was LC period I period A period that did it. Meanwhile, we have China launching suspected anti-satellite weapon into space, you know, that could, you know, as we read down, target U.S. satellites. This is all part of, again, you know, they lay the foundation and lay out the plans like right in front of everybody. You just have to piece together what their bigger picture is. And of course, they tie in and talk about those new hypersonic missiles. And, you know, a lot of people have different thoughts on those as well. And then we see a statement for the president for life, the fine dining ware country, calling for new progress in military equipment and weapons. Push, push, push. Break new ground. Yep. China's strategic capabilities have been enhanced by leapfrog development in military equipment and weapons, said Xi. How do you think they're leapfrogging ahead? Well, because the powers that truly be are providing them everything they need. Because, you know, that way, social credit scores, re-education, camping.
Right.
You know, this is all exactly what's been planned for the whole globe. And we see China's energy crisis. Why is the country on the edge of the abyss? And as our buddy and good friend has said over at DAP 2030, you know, this is when countries actually go on the aggressive. Because, you know, again, if they're going to face an uprising within the country, it's better to go out and get everybody riled up in a nationalistic fervor, saying, see what the enemy is doing, see what he's doing over there, look at what their plans are for us. And you get everybody riled up, you know, Nazi Germany style, and they cheer and they go along, and next thing you know, you're marching your troops off to WAR. And, you know, this is exactly part of this bigger plan. And, you know, meanwhile, we have a cyber attack over in Iran that crippled gas stations. Interesting, massive cyber attack, as we do see. Again, ultimately, there are controllers that are controlling the entire chessboard. And maybe the kings on both sides of the chessboard realize this. Maybe they realize it. Maybe the queens have a clue. Maybe even the bishops have heard rumor that it's not really our white king or our black king that is moving the pieces. He's being told what to do. Shh, don't tell the knights. They might leak it to the rooks and the pawns, and before you know it, everybody will figure out what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. They sure will.
So, but at the same time, those knights, those pawns, those bishops, those rooks, they carry out orders from those that they perceive to be their kings. Again, basically relating it to a chess game that's undergoing. Yet really, the hands that are making the moves on both sides of the board. And when one realizes that, the game takes on new meaning, because you realize, well, that would mean that the outcome is pre-decided.
Right.
Governor Inslee over in Washington to do a date for man as far as, all private businesses. And again, we've talked about this, and we have so many family members that we have regular sessions with on the left coast and also on the right coast and all the way in between. It was interesting to see, actually, about 45% of the people that we see on a regular basis are actually outside the country, outside of the US of A, which is really cool. We have a lot of people in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, and also in Europe. So it's really interesting to see the perspectives and to talk to them, on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and see how things are changing and progressing. And it's very different in very different places. Totally different. Obviously what's going on right now, Australia and New Zealand, they seem to have some of the strongest things to contend with of anybody anywhere in the globe. But certain states are completely lockstep behind them, and it just is going to manifest a little bit later down the line as far as this chess game goes. But then there's other states where, if you didn't know better, you might think that things were semi-normal, as long as and I think we could have said that more maybe a month ago, because now almost everywhere people are noticing the shelves are getting to be kind of empty. They're noticing things like where there used to be food, now there's Christmas items. And yeah, sure, Christmas is coming, but usually the Christmas section might be, this one section over there, the seasonal department. Well, it's spreading out from the seasonal department. It's in sporting goods, and it's working its way towards home goods now, because there's a lot of things missing. People are catching that.
Most definitely. People are, it is good to see people starting to wake up. That is wonderful.
Build back better billionaires.
Yay.
What is really happening here? What is really happening here? Well, what's happened since the Plague Upon the Land has come out is certain industries have made a killing. And the upper crust, the elite of the elite, have made more profits. I mean, it would have taken them decades if we didn't have a plague upon the land to be where they are at right now, because there was. People are waking up to that fact. And, as we might have our first trillionaire, which would be Elon Musk. And, again, getting us ready for the galactic society, which will be part of our reality irregardless of which side of the coin you're on. If we're talking ascension and the people that are able to ascend and rise up, well, you're going to find yourself in a galactic environment. And the people that don't, you will probably too, in that sense, because you might just get used to the reality of beings like the Gigi, the Anunnaki, the Greys, and others. This is going to be the big wake-up call, and this is what's going to, shake the planet down, so to speak, for those that are not ready, for those that are of the mindset that we're all that there is, and there's no other life out there. All the people of the indigenous traditions all around the globe recognized that we've never been alone. They know about our star brothers and sisters. They know about beings on other densities walking amongst us all the time. When you look to the shamanic traditions, and when we're talking about shamanic traditions, not necessarily those that come out of Mongolia, Siberia, and the like, but all around the globe, the people that were in tune with the earth and recognized exactly what happens after death, because it really wasn't a big secret. They all knew it was just basically, well, when you open a door, there's another place on the other side of the door. So, again, a dream within a dream within a dream. We don't stop being. We don't just kind of go to a nothingness awaiting the last day to be resurrected flesh, again from the dirt of the earth. That doesn't occur anywhere but in, the basic Abrahamic tradition that we have upon the planet now. In their interpretation of it, and again, in the early church, people believed various things. They had all different beliefs. We had a lot of Neoplatonism, and we had Gnosticism, and we had all sorts of different mindsets on what the true teachings of Yeshua were, as well as so many other traditions that have always been around that recognized the interdimensional, multidimensional nature of consciousness, and also recognize the fact that we're not alone, and we never have been alone. It was only in the last couple thousand years, really, even less than that, that the whole control grid came up to try to convince us that we're alone, we're all that there is. Why would they do that? Well, because the controllers themselves are interdimensional and extraterrestrial. It's pretty simple. They don't want you realizing the reality of the control grid.
Oh, it would completely ruin their game. I mean, then there would be nothing to play. Then there would be nothing for them to have influence over, influence on. But they understand how things work. They understand consciousness. They understand the human mind. So they use that to their advantage every place possible.
When we look back to, and we don't really watch any commercials, because we don't watch things that would show commercials per se. So I'm thinking just more back from childhood and everything, when we only had 3 channels and things like that. Definitely dating myself there. But you think about how they're always trying to sell you on materialistic things. It's all about this spiritual warfare. It's all about having the bigger, more beautiful house. Upgrading your cars. Having things. If we didn't have this whole system, if you didn't have to go to work, perhaps humanity as a whole would just simply be more creative. Creativity is what we're intended for. It's all about co-creating through, having source co-create with you, through you. It's all about exploration. What would you do if you didn't have to go to work? What would you do, if you didn't have to pay your bills, pay your taxes? Now, they bet on human ego and the negative human natures of greed and things like that. They know there's people that are going to always want to be a millionaire, then want to be a billionaire, then some will even want to be a trillionaire if they could do that. And so that's just kind of natural, but those are the people that they use to control the masses, because they know people will be willing to. Certain people will always want, their egos will get the better of them, and they will always want to be at the top of the food chain, so to speak. And so that's what we see now, and we see the billionaire class and the people that have so much wealth that they could eliminate poverty, eliminate suffering. Nobody would be going hungry in this world if we had these billionaires truly giving back in a substantial way. But again, it's the system itself that's so corrupted. But it's built that way for a purpose, because they know they could get humans to police humans through the use of humans that will always give in to the ego and greed.
That's right. It's it's a game that they understand, and they've been grooming people to go along with their system since we're born. They teach us how to raise our children, how to put our children in the system, how the look at how the system molds everyone and our belief systems, and look at how the system has people competing against each other almost every step of the way. It's really quite cruel.
We've mentioned that before. Think about it. There's no Olympic Games for cooperation. There's Olympic Games for competition. Can you imagine if our whole mindset shifted to one of, how can we better cooperate? What team can come up with the best cooperation to better the planet? Things like that. And our history is constantly being rewritten. So we were told that the woolly mammoths died, tens of thousands of years ago. Everything is constantly rewritten. Now they say they were still living just 3,900 years ago in Siberia. And was that the case? Or was it even more recent than that? Everything is being rewritten. And so, as you see, scientists debunk one extinction theory. Everything is constantly being rewritten. Why is that? Well, again, because we're getting close to the point where we could recognize that everything has been a fabrication. It's all a very, very grand scheme that's been set before us. As we see, the discovery of a nobleman could rewrite Egyptian history again. And everything is just being rewritten left and right. And why? Why? Well, because you can't rewrite the truth, but you can rewrite lies.
Over and over and over again.
And again, so where are you going to go? And this has been like one of the questions from some of the new people coming onto the channel. And they say, where do you get your information? Well, we do put links to all the stuff that we're talking about here. But as far as like the real information, you got to go within. This is what is taught in so many of the Western mystery traditions, and then also in the Eastern traditions known as the Sanatana Dharma, also in Taoism and so many other philosophies. You got to go within. But yes, in the West too, there's been great minds that have espoused this idea that you have to go within for true answers. And they understand too that we're all looking at the world through our unique lens. So not everybody's perception is going to be the same. And that's okay, because we are all unique individuals. And one size does not fit all. We don't have to conform to one of their belief systems. We can have our own unique belief system that's constantly changing. And it should be as we discover new things.
Absolutely. We should be able to explore, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we could start by exploring the truth about who we are, what we're about, our history? I mean, could you imagine if things started off on an honest foot and we knew all about our abilities, all about our instincts? The world would be a completely different place.
It's a sad fact that so many people are afraid to be themselves. They feel that they have to be something else because society wouldn't accept them if they were going to truly be themselves. But that's part of the system. It intimidates people. It forces them to conform because you might be ostracized by society. You might be looked at as crazy. Think about all the people that were perhaps psychically gifted that heard voices. Oh, they're hearing voices. Well, hey, the year is 1900. We just have to do a lobotomy. That'll take care of that. Or the year is 2000. Well, we got a great prescription for that. But in reality, they just simply had an activated pineal gland and were able to hear the guides that are there with them the whole time. They just didn't recognize it because the society didn't teach it. This is part of the control matrix that's always been in place in these times. But we are escaping it, and it's collapsing. So if you are able to perhaps, like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, see things that many would say aren't there because they're drinking fluoridated water and they're exposed to certain toxins, and they have a mindset, a belief system that doesn't allow them to expand their minds to those possibilities. And maybe they can't see what's there, what really is there, but you can see because it is really there. Because our reality is so much more expansive, unique, and wonderful than we're led to believe. Because when you get on the other side of the veil, when you realize that the vast majority of the beings that are around us and interacting with us, so many of them are just so benevolent, but you're taught to fear all the demons. Well, the demons are really at the top of the control grid, the control ladder that we see here on Earth. They're the ones that are feeding you these limiting belief systems. They're the ones that are making you afraid to think outside the box, to look outside of that you were brought up with. They want to keep you in fear so you won't discover the truth. And meanwhile, history will keep being rewritten anew.
Right. They want to use the ego to keep you inside of that box because the ego needs to survive. So they give you these threats on your very soul, that your soul will be thrown in a lake of fire to burn for eternity if you dare step outside of this belief system. So that's how they play things, and they understand the human mind and the ego, and they use it.
So we want to thank our Patreons.
Yes, we absolutely
do. We couldn't do it without your guys' support.
And it's thank you so much to Miss Julie and Miss Jenny and Stephen. We are eternally grateful. Thank you so, so much.
And also on Ko-Fi, also you could do the same thing. And Ko-Fi is just another option where you could do a one-time support, or you could do a recurring monthly support for the channel to keep us going. And everybody also that has been trying medicinal foods, this is a great small little company with great people that are very, very conscious, and lots of good products, lots of good supplements, and goodies that are not so naughty, but they are yummy. And when you use coupon code EEA, you get 5% off your order, and as you fill up your cart at checkout, you get bonuses up to 25% off and free shipping. So keep prioritizing the spiritual side of things, because that is what we are. We're spiritual beings having a temporary physical incarnation. We are not these bodies, but we use these bodies as a vehicle to explore this reality. And as long as we recognize that we are ultimately eternal consciousness, then it makes us have a different perspective on everything around us.
It sure does. And when things get tough, just keep that in mind. Remember that. Play it back in your mind and appreciate everything that's being given to you, because it's being given to you to help better your experience and better your soul.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.